What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dvilledi, aka Uncle on the Sticks. Get my hat right. Why am I out of uniform? Tonight we're gonna react to Tommy G inside a Jacksonville police drug raid. Apparently, somehow, Tommy G was allowed to go inside of a drug raid.
What does it mean to you to be taking drugs off the street?
It means a lot. We try to keep our community safe. We'll do whatever it takes to enforce the law and take drugs off the street.
Right here, isn't it?
Yep, it's that one. Should be second block on the right.
Round. Hey, watch this car. Watch this car.
Oh shit, they got to get into it already.
Sheriff's Office, search warrant! Stop running!
It's 1:20 on a Saturday, and we're responding to the scene of an overdose.
Bro, if you ain't never been inside, been involved in, I actually got caught in one of these one time over at a friend's house. Just got off work, chilling, and just boom. You know, his parents was into some. We was young. I want to say we were still teenagers. We might have been early 20s. His parents was into some things, you know what I'm saying? So it's wild when you get caught in the middle of it. They got a stretcher out. Somebody got clapped.
What you just witnessed was an operation from Jacksonville's undercover narcotics unit raiding the house of a suspected drug dealer. You also just saw a snippet of their overdose team investigating a drug-induced death to see if there's a drug dealer that they need to find and charge with a homicide. Currently, Jacksonville law enforcement is receiving nationwide attention for things like cutting their county's homicide rate in half over a one-year period and employing state-of-the-art crime-fighting technology. For a few days, me and the boys embedded with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office to see their methods in action. This video is part one of a three-part series we are releasing, with part one focusing on how Jacksonville fights drug-related crime, and for part two we will be on a night patrol with cops and K-9 units, and for part three we will be looking into how their SWAT team and gang task force tackles murders and gang violence. This, folks, is unprecedented access that we are proud to bring to you. Let's get to it.
Capacitor cores check is okay. Fusion cores are primed for ascent.
Copy that. The team is ready to release the hold in T-minus 2 minutes.
Verification check to proceed with ascent.
Oh, hell.
Folks, we are pulling up on an undercover drug raid. There's a drug task force here in Jacksonville that is really trying to crack down on fentanyl and the problems that drugs bring into a community. This is a blood pumping type of experience. This is something where you breach a door and someone resists. There could be shots fired. You might have to bring in SWAT. It's a high pressure job. Let's go in and check this out and see what the next step is. We were walking into an office where undercover officers worked and where their top secret operations were planned. So we were instructed to keep the cameras low until it was time to move out on this raid.
So I'm Lieutenant Manna with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Narcotics Unit. I'm over narcotics and vice.
And what's the operation today? What are we looking for?
Today we have a search warrant for a drug house. We conducted several buys from the property, and we know they're selling drugs from inside the house. And
What
we
kind?
are going to Avenue. It's on the west side of town.
Is there a particular drug we're looking for?
We conducted several buys. We bought crack cocaine from there.
The credit.
How many drug raids do you think you've been on your day?
2-3 a week.
Do we know if the guy living here has many firearms?
We haven't seen any, because if we did, it would qualify for SWAT. So the guys, the job they do is very dangerous, especially the first person inside the property, because you just don't know what's behind the closed doors.
If you need to throw one of us in as human bait to make the operation go through, just we'll draw straws as a crew.
All right, let's go.
What does it mean to you to be taking drugs off the street?
It means a lot. We try to keep our community safe, and obviously this is a vicious circle with supply versus demand, but we'll do whatever it takes to enforce the law. And
you got to be a special kind of person to wake up in the morning knowing that you got to go, you know what I mean, strap up, lock in, and go fight crime. It takes a special type of person. You got to have a certain type of mentality to do that day in and day out. I bet it wears on you. Because you can't even really plan a day. It's just, you just thrown to the mercy of whatever's going on, whatever you run into that day.
and take drugs off the street.
Do you think you'll ever completely wipe drugs off the street?
I think you can put a dent to it. I don't think you can wipe it off completely because there are some, for instance, marijuana is legal in certain states. It's a very tough challenge. Again, it's a vicious circle. It's supply versus demand.
Where's that guy going right there?
He's going in?
Yep, he's going to the door.
All right.
Okay, yep, we're going to take him too.
It's right here, isn't it?
Yep, it's that one. Should be second block on the right.
Door looks to towards Brown. Hey, watch
Boom.
this car, watch this car.
You see how that coordinated, just everybody on go at the same time. Nobody hesitated. Nobody hesitated. They all just boom. Watch it.
Where's that guy going right there?
He's going in?
Yep, he's going to the door.
All right.
Okay, yep, we're going to take him too.
It's right here, isn't it?
Yep, it's that one. Should be second block on the right.
Door looks
They
to
just whip up.
towards Brown.
Boom.
Hey, watch this car, watch this
Before the
car.
car even in park, they out.
Sheriff's office, search warrant.
There's somebody running in the back door.
I got two, gray jacket, black pants, another one. They're running, they ran out of
Is she
their
smoking a
car.
blunt?
Stop running!
I got one. The other one with the gray hoodie, I don't know where he went.
Stop running! 4 Bravo Mike's running in the back.
You got one of the page cars coming around you on High Grove.
How you hit coke? Listen,
Love games, but hate the grind?
one of the things one of the things we used to say back in my day when I was a young boy, man, you don't never supposed to get caught in your neighborhood on foot chase, and you should never get caught in your neighborhood. Cause you're supposed to know all the cuts. You're supposed to know everywhere to go to get low, to get up out of there. It's your neighborhood.
Undo your handcuffs? Right. Loosen them. I can fit a finger in between there, buddy. That's kind of what we got to do.
Hi, y'all ready? So in this case, we got a bunch of crack cocaine. We have a lot of powder cocaine. We got some beakers, a bunch of drug paraphernalia, scales, So obviously we got to say that was successful.
Is crack cocaine as common as it was in early 2000s?
It still is, I would say, crack cocaine, yeah.
How would you classify this bust? Small, medium, large?
Probably a medium scale to small, small to medium.
How many people in custody?
So far, 3. And obviously we have a baby now, so we're trying to get hold of the mother. Apparently she's at work, so she'll be coming back.
What goes through your head when you see a baby inside one of those houses?
You won't be the first. A lot of times, so we we hold the baby, we assist, and then what we do is trying to reunite the baby.
Cause see, man, the baby being there ain't even strange like that, because to the people doing this is just everyday life. This is just what they do. This is normal. You know, as wild as it sounds, as weird as it sounds, it's just everyday life. But it's just in there putting the work together and watching the kid.
Be with the parents, and apparently that's the father, who's the mother's at work. Since the father is going to be arrested, then the mother will respond to take control of her child.
Do they feel like, I'm glad that this is happening, that they got busted?
Absolutely, absolutely. We get feedback all the time. They don't love these guys. They don't want them here in their neighborhoods.
Because they make them dangerous?
Yeah, they don't want drugs in their neighborhoods.
In the last year, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has fielded over 5,000 calls for service for drug-related incidents. And in a 2024 survey of Jacksonville residents, next to gun violence, illegal drug usage was the top issue residents wanted the Sheriff's Office to focus their resources on.
A lot of times they are afraid, and the ones they step up, they give us complaints and information. We work every complaint that we get.
I mean, to live in a place where dangerous guys with guns are in and out all the time, and junkies are coming, and you have kids around here.
And this is just the preliminary search. Obviously, they go into details to search the property. And typically on the secondary search, they find additional drug paraphernalia and additional drugs.
Jacksonville is a beautiful city in some parts.
Our overdose deaths are down.
Just like most cities. Certain areas, you go to and it's just beautiful. It just looks great. It looks cool. And then you get into the other side of it, and it's just, poverty.
Year over year here.
This is Vic Michelucci. Previously, he was a Jacksonville investigative journalist who won Crime Reporter of the Year. He left his 14-year career to run communications and media for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and he is the one that opened up the doors for us to be here today.
Fewer people are dying.
And this is just one part of that initiative,
this
or that
is a
push.
part of that.
Yeah.
But as you saw with that situation, not only did they find drugs, they found at least one gun. And a lot of times when you see drug sales, you see firearms, and that leads to violence.
The murder that comes with the marijuana trade. I'm gonna tell you, I've worked murders where a pound of marijuana was stolen, and people get killed for it. It may not seem like a big deal to the populace or to people that are advocates for marijuana, but that's a big deal. One life, I always say to everybody, is too many.
Look, there was that kid in there. I mean, that kid was what, maybe 1?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any excuse for that.
Yeah,
whether you're dealing drugs, doing drugs, around people that are doing drugs, to expose that child there. And we've had multiple issues of accidental overdoses with kids, and we've put that out, and thankfully the most recent instances, our officers were able to save those kids. But imagine having to give Narcan to a 1-year-old.
We just got to watch a successful raid take down an armed crack dealer, but Jacksonville's war on drugs has another side to it, the Overdose Task Force. Whether we'd meet them this trip depended on one thing, an overdose happening while we were in town. Early Saturday afternoon, that call came in.
Ever wondered what...
Yeah, them overdoses. It's wild because, and a lot of times overdoses aren't even coming from the actual drugs that they're using. It's the stuff that they're cutting with. Fentanyl, deadly. It only takes like a couple grains of fentanyl to take you out.
And we've been on standby the 4 days we've been in Jacksonville for when an overdose happens, we're going to get the call. Unfortunately, it's 1:20 on a Saturday, and we're responding to the scene of an overdose. This is hard to walk into. I mean, you're walking into a family's worst nightmare with cameras, and we want to be respectful of what they're experiencing, but also convey something that happens every day around America in a real way. So we'll see you on the scene.
Right now the victim is still present, so we're going to allow you guys to come in, just kind of keep a distance. We'll be collecting a bunch of things. I think that would be very good, and like as far as the recording and stuff.
Who are you and what do you do? What's your role?
So I am Sergeant Kay Cruz. I am with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I'm a part of the Narcotics Overdose Death Investigations Unit.
We are allowed to cross the threshold and film inside the rebellion?
Yeah. Just
because
don't.
we have consent from the family?
Yeah, and then that's also why I was speaking to the next of kin, because I didn't want her to be like, why is media here? So I was explaining to her the reasoning for you guys being here and like helping, produce information to give out to, the public to hopefully prevent future overdoses for overdose awareness.
As you enter a scene, what are you looking for? What are you gonna?
So the very beginning of our investigation is the patrol response. Anytime patrol responds to a undetermined death, depending on the evidence on scene, determines what unit will come out to conduct the death investigation. The initial investigation, we're unable to determine what the actual cause of death is. When we respond to the scene, there's kind of two different investigations going on. You have your medical examiner's office investigation, and you also have your Jacksonville Sheriff's Office investigation. The medical examiner's office will do all the medical related stuff. So they're doing the toxicology, and they're actually going to determine the actual cause of death. We are conducting the Sheriff's Office investigation.
This is heavy, man. I couldn't do this work. I couldn't do it. Having to just deal with death daily. You don't know, you show up, you don't know if it's going to be women, children, elderly. You don't know what you're walking into. When you get to those calls, it's just like, it's got to be tough. You look at her, she seemed kind of wore down, you know what I mean?
So with any...
Look at their faces, man. It's grim. Having to deal with death every day is grim. I don't think you can really ever get like numb to that.
Individual, or if an individual provides a controlled substance to an individual that is a substantial factor in their death, they can be held liable.
And we know that, or we're trying to figure that out?
We're trying to figure that out. Again, very initial stages of the investigation. We're processing the scene with the crime scene unit. And also we're working with the medical examiner's office. We're collecting any evidence that may assist our investigation.
What has you wearing a mask to the scene?
We wear those to protect our identities because a lot of us work in an undercover capacity, so that's why we wear the mask, because we're out in the public. So we just try to conceal our identities from members of the public, because you never know if someone here at the scene provided drugs to the victim or if any of these people...
Hold up. Look at Hey, they say there's a time and place for everything, but hey, look. Hey, look, though. I don't know. The purple, what's that? He got on the popsicle Fandora with the ice cream on the top, the cream on the top with the white and purple joint with the purple jeans. You only gonna see somebody wear purple jeans in Jacksonville, Florida. I got some friends that moved from Jacksonville when we was in high school, and they used to purple, green. They had all the different colored jeans. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but that's like a distinctively Florida thing right there, Jacksonville thing right there, in my opinion.
Could potentially be a suspect or a drug dealer for a case that we encounter later.
Is it possible that you might find the dealer, you might do an undercover buy from the same dealer that sold here?
Yes, it's possible.
Because that way you're familiar with the case.
Yes.
Have you ever been in a sketchy situation?
A lot of them.
Explain one of them.
I've been locked in hotel rooms with drug dealers before. Sometimes they'll do that to make sure like no one's coming in behind you, so you're in there with them trying to buy drugs, and they'll lock the doors behind you. You know, they have guns on them. They have drugs there. There was a case in Miami recently where they made an undercover actually smoke fentanyl just to say that he wasn't an undercover.
Did he pass away?
No, he did not.
What she's referring to is an insane story that just happened a couple weeks ago. A Miami fentanyl dealer got suspicious of an undercover agent and gave the guy two options. You either smoke this fentanyl and die, or I'm gonna kill you anyways. Terrified, the agent had no choice but to hit the Chinese import in front of the dealer. Somehow he survived, and SWAT raided these guys soon after. And it just goes to highlight the incredible danger of this undercover.
I wonder if they gonna charge him if he got charged with attempt. He should be charged with attempt. I feel like if you force somebody to smoke fent, attempt.
Cover profession.
I've had drug dealers before try to get me to smoke drugs, and it's just, you know, it can be pretty dangerous and sketchy. Pretty much this entire career is pretty dangerous.
What got you into it?
When I was little, I really liked the show Cops. Okay, and I'm not from Jacksonville, but when I was little, I used to watch the episodes, and I remember as a kid seeing the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office episodes and being like, that area in particular, I don't know why, stuck with me, and I was like, that looks like a pretty crazy place to live or work or whatever.
We talked to, prior to making entry, we're talking to patrol to provide us with their information that they collected upon their initial response. We're talking to any next of kins.
I didn't know the police force had an overdose task force. An overdose task force is kind of wild. Like, this is the first time I'm ever hearing of this. An overdose task force. Appreciate the light.
That are on scene, and we're also talking to any complainants or witnesses. We're just trying to gather what happened before police were called to the scene. For this particular structure, the room where the victim was located is from the back. You guys can follow me and we'll go inside.
You ever have a clip you just want to share with your friend?
What are the primary things we're looking for? Where are your eyes going right now?
So eyes are going in the immediate area where the victim was located, but also like common areas of the house, living room, bathroom. We're checking for any paraphernalia, narcotics related, and any additional narcotics or any paraphernalia to even include like little baggies that could have been packaging for narcotics. I've been working narcotics related investigations for a little over 7 years now. I've been working narcotics overdose death investigations for approximately 3.5, 4 years.
What got you into the overdose unit?
I enjoyed working narcotics investigations. I noticed that before the creation of this unit, homicide was responding to these types of investigations. And this was kind of before it became we fell under the Florida state statute of murder. Once we started falling under that Florida state statute, we were able to dig deeper into different types of investigations.
Florida lawmakers are not alone in expressing the sentiment that a drug dealer should be subjected to harsh penalties, particularly if they can be tied to an overdose death. In fact, just recently, Trump made headlines again by stating his long-term position that drug dealers should receive the death penalty.
Unless you have the death penalty for drug dealers, you don't have to get rid of the drug problem. Put that through your head.
As someone who knows the drug dealing black market much better than Trump, I think the numbers he's throwing out are extreme exaggerations that have no root or basis in fact.
A drug dealer will kill 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people during the course of his or her life.
It really depends on what someone's selling. If someone has sold...
Yeah, I kind of think he just made that one up. Because, like you said, it depends on what you're selling. Somebody who sells, some smoke, they probably not out here committing murders. Probably not. When you get into the harder stuff, the crack, the cocaine, that's when it usually gets a little violent. Fentanyl, fentanyl is like a gamble. It's like a roll of the dice. Anytime that you deal with it, like if you even just touching it, man, the fentanyl deal, and that's a whole nother ball game.
Fentanyl, obviously, they have a much higher chance of causing an overdose death, but for some guy trapping weed, it is actually impossible that anyone has died as a result of his drug. It says on the DEA's own website that no one has overdosed from marijuana, and yet it's still a Schedule I drug. However, I do agree that a drug dealer needs to be held liable if what he sells kills someone. The question is, to what extent? What do you guys think in the comments? Should a drug dealer be given a death sentence if they cause an overdose death?
I found interest.
I think that you should treat it the same as murder. If the drug that you selling causes someone's death directly, like the cause of death was the drug that they were taking, they should treat that just like any other type of, homicide. I get the penalty should be harsh because what you sold, caused the death. What y'all think?
And not only giving closure to the family of the victims, but putting all the pieces together to try and determine who actually sold illegal drugs to the victim.
How many calls like this a week do you typically respond to?
The overdoses, they come in waves. There are times that we can get 10 in a week. There are times that we can get 0. There's no way to determine how many call-outs a week that we're going to get. Crime scene units here, the narcotics overdose detectives are here. They are taking photographs, they're looking around, pointing out or trying to locate any evidence that may be narcotics related. They are waiting for the medical examiner's office to arrive. Once the medical examiner's office arrives, that's kind of where we're now dividing into like 2 investigations, but we work very close together. Like I said, I think the more information we get out there to the public, make aware that it's not only fentanyl. Yes, fentanyl, that's what we're hearing in the news. It's a dangerous, deadly drug, but any illegal substance can cause a death.
Well, thank you for what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Some Americans would say, hey, alcohol is legal. Alcohol has a lot of problems. I mean, if you look at domestic disputes, violence, fights, drunkenness, DUIs, yeah, that's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry. Why should weed be any different?
Because why add to it? But why add to the problem that alcohol already causes?
Because prohibition doesn't work. The war on drugs has not solved since the 70s the issues of drugs in our community.
So let me ask you this question. Because we should legalize marijuana because people like to smoke it, we should legalize cocaine, methamphetamine, we should legalize fentanyl, we should legalize all those things? No, of course not. Just because people like it, there are certain things that you just shouldn't do, and I think the government should uphold a standard.
So what gave you reason to believe that this could be a narcotic overdose in the first place?
So, based off the evidence that is located at the scene of a death, so for this particular incident, there is narcotics paraphernalia and additional narcotics on scene. We cannot on scene determine the cause of death. That will be for the medical examiner's office investigation. Because of the evidence that is located on the scene, we want to get a jump start on our investigation. So the van actually pulled up super close, and we're keeping family further out, so it should be okay.
I think Tommy kind of got a point at the same time about the legalizations. Yeah, certain things should probably get legalized, marijuana, so on and so forth, because then I feel like you'd be able to better regulate it. People would actually be able to know what they're getting instead of buying drugs off of the street. Because if we just being honest, you can go to the doctor and get prescribed a lot of this stuff that these people are selling on the street, or the equivalent of some of the stuff that they sell on the streets. You go in, you say you have certain ailments, whoop, 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 boom, you get a pill. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know how you guys do this day in and day out. I suppose just like anything,
the more that
We
you
adapt
see
to
it, the more that you adapt to it. And like I said, with these investigations, it affects the family more than anything.
This is World of Warcraft.
I think this just goes to show how one death can affect so many people. It's such a ripple effect.
Right.
As you hear the family in the background, I think this goes to highlight, I would not have the stomach for this type of job. And there's the fact that people like you are boots on the ground and see some of this, look death in the face almost on a daily basis sometimes, and have to deal with families and all the thing that come with it. I mean,
Right, I will say that making that next of kin notification is the worst part about our job, because we're having to tell a loved one that their loved one is no longer here.
what I've seen in my own family, and there's not one person, not with the reach drugs has, you could be in a mansion or you could be in the poorest of the poor. There's not one family in America that probably doesn't have some impact of drugs hitting their family or alcoholism hitting their family.
Right.
It's just such a heavy job. And then this is the other thing is I think like this gives me perspective too, because sometimes it's easy to look at a dealer and be like, oh, he grew up in a messed up neighborhood with a messed up childhood and he's just trying to make some money to put rent, to pay the rent. But then when it has the impact like this, that makes an entire family gather and cry, then you have a little bit more of a, well, when they get raided, you know why.
The drug dealers know. They know that they are selling this deadly drug. They know what they are selling, so that is why they should be held accountable for what they are selling.
Yep.
And every single person has that voice inside their heart that knows when something is right or wrong. And to override that just so you can pay rent, even though you can cause devastation to an entire family.
That's why, man. Y'all hear the screams in the background. It's like these people, the whole world just got torn apart. Yes, the user accepts certain amount of responsibility for using and putting yourself in that position. But like you said, man, the seller knows exactly what he's selling, and he still chooses to sell it, he or she.
And one dealer might have, do you encounter
Multiple
dealers?
customers.
Do you ever encounter dealers that you guys arrest that are tied to multiple deaths?
Yes.
Yeah, this really helped me change my perspective on drug dealing. I mean, there's so much that comes with this. There's family members that have to pay for the funeral. There's how many people had to call off work to leave here and come. There's people that their lives can be permanently altered by the grief. I mean, I've seen that in my own family very well. Just in today's episode, the fact that a dad is selling crack cocaine next to his baby, and then we land at this scene over here when he's passed away and the family's crying, like, you gotta raise your standards a little bit. It makes me thankful, for the detectives that have to collect bodies and investigate, and then the people that have to risk their life to go undercover to do the work to catch these guys. That's more of a risk than most of us are willing to take.
Good.
It's an honest job. It pays the bills. And these are people that go to bat for us in our community. So, really interesting perspective of how Jacksonville is fighting the flow of drugs through the city. That was a deep dive into the world of Jacksonville crime fighting.
All right, man. That was Tommy G. Took us inside of a drug raid, took us inside of an overdose, the aftermath of a overdose. W video, Tommy. Y'all go subscribe. Y'all go subscribe to Tommy G on YouTube. And if you enjoyed what you seen here tonight, man, your boy Dvilledi, a.k.a. Uncle on the Sticks, go over and subscribe to my YouTube too. Uncle on the Sticks. TikTok. Shoot me a follow on TikTok. More stuff to come, man. More stuff to come.